The year is 1923 in Berlin. A man walks into a bakery carrying a briefcase, not for documents and not for gold, but for bread. The price behind the counter reads 200 billion marks for a single loaf. Not 200, not 200,000, but 200 billion. The woman standing ahead of him pushes a wheelbarrow, not filled with groceries, but filled with cash. By the time the man reaches the counter, the baker scratches out the price and writes a new one, 250 billion. The currency has lost 30% of its value in 12 minutes. This is not dystopian fiction. This was Weimar Germany. And it did not happen once. It happened again and again across history. Venezuela in 2018, where a carton of eggs cost millions. Zimbabwe in 2008, where a bus ticket required a $100 trillion banknote. Lebanon in 2023, where a currency lost 98% of its value in just 4 years, turning doctors into paupers overnight. Here is the thought that should make you uncomfortable. Historically, currency collapse is not rare. It is normal. The average lifespan of a fiat currency is about 27 years, and when money fails, it does not take wealth with it equally. Some things vanish instantly. Others survive. Some even grow stronger. That is what this video is about. Not predictions, not theories, but historical evidence. What actually holds value when economies collapse? Every economic collapse follows the same mathematical pattern. First, governments spend more than they collect. Then they borrow. When borrowing fails, they print money. Purchasing power erodes. Prices rise. Trust collapses. People flee the currency. Alternatives emerge. Finally, the system breaks. Weimar Germany went from 300 marks per dollar to over 4 trillion in less than 2 years. Venezuela's bolivar collapsed from 10 per dollar to over 1 million in a decade. Lebanon's pound fell from 1,500 per dollar to nearly 90,000. Different countries, different decades, identical outcomes. The mistake most people make is assuming collapse destroys everything. It doesn't. It reveals what was real value all along. And to understand that, we have to examine what survived every time money died. Before we talk about what survives, we need to kill one dangerous myth. During every collapse, people believe cash will protect them. They think holding money is safety. History shows the opposite. Cash is usually the first thing to die. In Weimar Germany, lifetime savings became worthless in months. In Zimbabwe, teachers were paid salaries that could not buy bread by evening. In Venezuela, people stopped counting zeros because it no longer mattered. When confidence disappears, paper promises collapse with it. So the question becomes simple. If cash fails, what replaces it? What do people run toward when money becomes fiction? The first survivor is land. Not paper claims, not speculative real estate bubbles, but productive land. Farmland, housing in functional areas, anything that produces utility. In Weimar Germany, farmers who owned land did not starve. They traded food directly. In Zimbabwe, landowners could still grow crops and barter. In Venezuela, property owners rented in dollars, while salaries were paid in bolivars. Land survives because it feeds people, houses people, and exists outside financial systems. Governments can print money. They cannot print soil. Land does not depend on trust. It depends on physical reality. The second survivor is hard assets that store value without needing permission. Gold is the most documented example, not because it is magical, but because it is scarce, durable, divisible, and globally recognized. During Weimar hyperinflation, gold preserved purchasing power while marks collapsed. In Venezuela, gold jewelry became a parallel currency. In Lebanon, people paid rent using gold coins passed down generations. Gold does not promise returns. It promises survival. When currencies fail, people stop asking what grows fast and start asking what lasts. But here is where most people misunderstand history. Survival assets are not about speculation. They are about transferability. Can you carry it? Can you trade it? Can it move across borders when systems freeze? Assets that survive collapse share one trait. They function when trust disappears. And as collapses deepen, trust becomes the rarest currency of all. The third survivor is businesses that provide absolute necessities. Not luxury brands, not hype-driven companies, but businesses tied to food, energy, water, medicine, and basic logistics. During economic collapse, people stop spending on wants and focus entirely on needs. In Weimar Germany, companies involved in coal, steel, and food distribution continued operating while banks collapsed. In Venezuela, private food suppliers survived while state systems failed. In Lebanon, pharmacies and fuel distributors became more valuable than financial institutions. Businesses that solve survival problems outlive monetary systems because demand for survival never disappears. The fourth survivor is skills, portable, in-demand, irreplaceable skills. Doctors, mechanics, engineers, electricians, farmers, and traders consistently outperformed white-collar paper wealth holders during collapse. In Zimbabwe, mechanics were paid in food. In Venezuela, doctors charged in dollars or goods. In Weimar Germany, skilled workers could negotiate directly for necessities. Skills survive because they cannot be inflated away. They move with you. They work without banks. When money dies, competence becomes currency. Now comes the most misunderstood survivor of all. Foreign currency access, not the collapsing currency, but external systems. In every modern collapse, those who could transact in stronger currencies survived better. Venezuelans with dollar access lived differently from those without. Lebanese families with accounts abroad protected purchasing power. This is not about predicting which currency wins forever. It is about optionality. Collapse traps people inside broken systems. External access creates escape routes. Survival is rarely about brilliance. It is about flexibility. Here is the pattern that should change how you think. The assets that survive are not designed for growth. They are designed for function. They work when systems stop working. And that is the line that separates wealth that disappears from wealth that endures. The final survivor is information. Not noise, not headlines, but accurate, timely, actionable information. In every collapse, those who understood what was happening early had an advantage. In Weimar Germany, those who exited Marx early preserved wealth. In Venezuela, families who tracked exchange rates and shortages adapted faster. In Lebanon, people who read the signals moved savings before capital controls locked them in. Information is an asset because it changes behavior before damage becomes irreversible. Most people fail not because collapse surprises them, but because they ignore warnings until it is too late. Now step back and look at the full picture. Economic collapse does not destroy everything. It filters. It removes illusions. It exposes which assets were built on trust and which were built on reality. Cash fails first. Paper promises follow. What survives are things that feed, house, heal, move, and inform people. Land, hard assets, essential businesses, skills, external access, information. This pattern repeats across centuries and continents. Different governments, same math. The real danger is not collapse itself. It is assuming normal will last forever. History shows it never does. The question is not if systems reset. It is whether you recognize the signals before they do. This video is not fear. It is context. It is perspective. Because when money fails, panic rewards no one. Preparation does. If this analysis helped you see money differently, take a moment to support the channel. Subscribe for more history-based financial breakdowns. Like the video so it reaches people who need it. and share it with someone who still believes paper money is permanent. Because the next collapse will not announce itself, and the people who survive it will be the ones who understood history before it repeated.